My name is Jill Meager. I'm an artist, predominantly a portrait artist. I work mainly with animals and birds, and I do children's portraits. The reason that I work with animals and birds is that I'm very interested in the idea of vulnerability and innocence and what young faces reveal. So a lot of the creatures I work with will be fledglings or just learning to live without their parents, because in those faces I see a clarity, and I think you see almost through their faces to their souls. What I try and do with my work is illustrate how vulnerable my creatures are. Obviously, I want to portray these creatures in a way that people will like and be drawn to, but also very key to that is the look in their eye which says, I am here at your mercy. And I think most people say to me, it's the eyes. We love looking at the eyes of your creatures. And that to me is a way of drawing people in and saying, okay, these are very beautiful creatures, they're very vulnerable creatures. Are we looking after them? I last year went to Tiree, which is an island off the west coast of Scotland, and the island is full of hares, and they're not too scared. I think mainly they're not preyed upon on that island. And so everywhere I looked, there were these hares just sitting there and feeding and big ears. So that was the beginning of a big hare project. I took as many photos as I could. I didn't have a long lens, so it was very frustrated that I couldn't capture a lot of the material. But I did manage to do sketches, and I worked out that if I was in position before the hares came out, then they were much more, they were much less frightened, and they didn't seem to need to move so far away from me. So I spent a lot of time lying on the ground waiting. I'm going back again this year, so I've got a much longer lens for my camera. I've got much better waterproof gear so that I can lie on the ground for endless amounts of time and sketch them. The thing about hares is they're not rabbits, in that they are the savage version of a rabbit, the representation of something much wilder. There's a lot of mythology around hares and what they represented. Were they witches? Did witches turn into hares to run away? So I think the cuteness of the rabbit is translated into the fearfulness of the hare, the independence of the hare. And again, that idea that it is this beautiful, muscular, they're like deer in their structure. The way they run, they're very strong, they're very solidly put together, but then they have these ridiculous huge ears and whiskers like you wouldn't believe. But it is still that something so incredibly beautiful cannot be tamed by us. Okay, now I'll just do this little suggestion of the red coming in here. Birds are more challenging, so I work with a combination of drawings and photographs. There's where I go in Devon, there I can look at birds for quite a long time because it's a double glazed window that I can see them through, and they peck around for some reason on that bit of grass and they don't see me. And a lot of wagtails are there, so then I can do some sketching, but I do take a lot of photographs as well for the birds. Crows, sometimes if you're there first and you're in a hide, they won't fly away, so you can sometimes draw the crows. This picture, Crow Fledgling, was hung in Somerset House, London, last year as part of the National Open Art Competition. They selected 120 artists to show. He was a fledgling in that he still had quite a lot of fluff around the place, and also it was quite a windy day, so his feathers were slightly ruffled, which again, that's part of the vulnerability, just catching them before they're fully fledged and into the serious business of being a bird. You just get that lovely transition where they're still learning and they're still sitting around with their beaks open waiting for worms.